Over the past several weeks, we've been exploring the steps to scaling your business. In the first phase, Align, you gain insights into your top customers, your purpose, your big promise, and queen bee role. Then in the second phase, you integrate. You take the clarity you gained and define primary jobs and KRAs for each of your team members, optimize everyone's time, and capture systems for stabilization and growth. In the final phase, Accelerate, you'll balance your team, identify and remove bottlenecks, and incorporate vacations from and for your business. And you'll become relevant to your business in a whole new, more critical way. You'll no longer be the heart of the business, you'll become its soul. My name is Jacob Curtis. I'm a CPA and certified profit-first professional and a business coach. I started Curtis Accounting Solutions to remove the stress of doing bookkeeping, payroll, and taxes off of quilt shop owners and to provide practical business advice to help quilt shops piece together financial freedom. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode, so please leave a comment and remember to like, share, and subscribe. The first step in the Accelerate phase is balancing the team. We've already discussed defining primary jobs and creating KRAs for each team member. Today is about getting the right people in the right roles, doing the right things in the right amounts, and doing it all right. So let's break that down a little bit. The right people in the right roles means that you know the super strengths of your team or their zones of genius. Patrick Lencioni discusses this in his book, The 6 Types of Working Genius. Team members need to exercise their God-given talents to keep them motivated, happy, and productive. Some team members may need to change roles. When a person is great at something and loves doing it, they'll excel at it. Unfortunately, business owners and leaders do not know the strengths of their team members. Determine your team members' strengths and use this knowledge to put them in a position where they will excel. Doing the right things means you have identified what your quilt shop needs and what it doesn't need. Trash what it doesn't need to do so that no one is distracted by those tasks. Transfer the work to the right people, trim the work that can be done more efficiently, and treasure the work that needs to stay with them. When you do that, you will align the right people with the right things. In the right amounts means people and businesses both need balance. All the doing in the world will fall short without clear direction, and all the direction in the world is useless if no one is taking action on the strategy. Even if they are great at something, your team needs balance and their own appropriate level of variety. Target an overall balance of 80% doing, 2% deciding, 8% delegating, and 10% designing time for your company across everybody. Doing it right is all about education. Provide your team members with the relevant captured systems and opportunities to learn, have a clearly defined goal and a process to follow, educate them on their primary jobs, what the QBR is, and the need to serve and protect it. In his book, Clockwork, Mike Michalowicz shares a conversation he once had with Darren Virasamy. Darren shared, the mistake organizations make, both big and small, is that they see all people as basically the same. If you can talk well at an interview, you're hired. If you can brown nose well once you're hired, you get promoted. The work, of course, matters, but the measurement is simply whether you can do an adequate job in the allotted time. What's missing is the realization that every person has an extraordinary talent. The person who turns red-faced in an interview and can barely spit out the words may be the best analytical mind in the world. That person who talks about the importance of serving others may not be a good salesperson who is motivated by numbers, but may be a powerful customer service person who is motivated by impact. He continued, you need to know what people are inherently strong at and then match them to the role in your business where they are applying that strength as much as possible. In other words, if you measure a fish by how well it can climb a tree or a monkey by how long it can breathe underwater, you have set both up to fail. But if you measure the fish by its ability to breathe underwater and the monkey by its ability to climb a tree, you will find that they both excel. So how do you get the right people in the right role? Well, by asking them. Okay, it might be a little more involved than that. You can pay for each team member to take an assessment like the Working Genius assessment or any other assessments like the Strengths Finder, which I do recommend doing if you have the resources. Or you can really just talk to them. Ask each team member what they'd love to do. For example, what are your 3 favorite things you've ever done at work? Or if you were able to have any job on the planet doing anything you want, what would it be? Or 10 years from now, what is the perfect job you see yourself doing? Or if you had all the money in the world and simply wanted to work for the joy of working, what would you do? So seek out their interests, seek out their hobbies, seek out what gives them joy, because if it gives them joy, it is usually a strength. One other strength detector, and perhaps the most effective detector of all, is observation. Watch your team members at work. What are they naturally good at? What do they want to do more of? What do they want to learn more about? These are all likely indicators of their strengths. For my own business, I use all of those methods. I talk with each member, have them each fill out and complete a working genius and DISC assessment, and I observe their performance, looking for their strengths. Knowing each person's strengths allows me to move them into the right role. Now that you're working on making your quilt shop more efficient, have identified your QBR, and or organizing your team to protect and serve the QBR, you'll notice that your team may need to shift roles to accommodate those changes. This is where you will sometimes get pushback from your team. People may worry about their job security or have difficulty letting go of their old roles because doing less makes them look like less of a team player, although the exact opposite is actually true. As you go through this process, keep in mind that transitions can be difficult for some people. I'll share how to ensure that you have the right people in the right roles, doing the right things in the right amounts, and also address some potential issues that may come up in the process. Most small businesses fail to scale. Why? Because they fail to trust the people they hired to run the business. And why is that? Because they hired too fast. They don't take the time to truly vet the potential team member. I get it. You're desperately in need of help. You're burning the candle at both ends, but you need to take the time. Think about marriage. Chances are you don't just go up to a random person in the street and ask them to marry you. If you did that, you'd probably get slapped. You don't just get married. More than likely, you go on a date or two, or 200, probably spend some time learning about each other. And that's called courtship. But when it comes to hiring, decisions are often made too quickly. You know a potential team member for 24 hours and feel that it is adequate to enter into an agreement to work together for the foreseeable future. You would literally probably spend more time with this team member than your spouse, and yet spend so little time vetting them. I recommend that you interview each candidate at least twice. I know companies that interview candidates multiple times because they understand the need to get this right. You interview them first and then have the team member that they're going to be working with interview them. Compare notes to ensure that they're a good culture fit, and this gives you a second pair of eyes to also evaluate the potential team member. Once hired, move slowly. Build the trust gradually, but start immediately. The goal is for your new team member to become fully autonomous. And to make that happen, start with low-risk transfers. Give them new work at a pace they can manage and measure their output as you do. As they can take on more, transfer bigger and bigger responsibilities to them. And when you see indications that they may be overwhelmed, slow down or stop the transfer of new responsibilities. Give a bit, measure a bit. Give a bit more, measure a little bit more. But no matter what, try to get them to do something on their own within the first week of employment. This will be a confidence builder for both of you. Ensuring that all of your team is in alignment with your big promise and understands your QBR will help you to build that trust. You need to let go of responsibilities and begin to move people into the right positions. Understand that each position, such as a receptionist, salesperson, or something else, has a list of jobs or tasks required of that position. This list creates a round hole, yet most applicants are square pegs. Finding someone who has traits that allow them to excel in every job or task that the position requires is unlikely. You're better served evaluating the strong traits your current people and team members have and new applicants have, and then matching those traits with the different jobs or tasks, regardless of position titles. For example, someone who has excellent phone skills may be great for aspects of reception work, sales work, or customer service. At the same time, their disheveled appearance may make them unsuitable for other aspects of reception work, sales work, or customer service work even. Your goal is to match people's best traits to the jobs and tasks that need those traits. So in this exercise I want you to do, you will conduct a job traits analysis. You can get a free template linked in the description below. In the first column, fill in all the jobs and tasks for a position in your company. Do this for all the positions in your company eventually, including your own. In the second column, labeled Excel trait, enter the primary behavior that will allow a person to excel at this job or task. For example, if a job is managing inbound calls from customers, this Excel trait might be professional and confident voice, or empathetic and clear communication. Don't get caught in the minutia like ability to dial and transfer calls. Yes, that stuff's necessary, but what we're looking for here is not the skills required. You can train on those skills. We are looking for the inherent ability and enthusiasm that is difficult or impossible to teach. Just write down one trait, the most critical trait that moves that task forward the most successfully. In the third column, labeled importance, this column is for the impact it will have on the company. Mark each task as one of these 5 levels. QBR or Queen Bee role is the most critical level. Primary job is their most important personal responsibility level. High are the most important tasks that they need to get done as long as the primary job is done and as long as the QBR is being served. Medium and low are necessary but not critical functions. In the next column, list any people or person who's currently doing this task. Then, in the next column, fill in based on the matchup of the traits who is best suited for doing this work. So fill in the best person serving this job. Start this matching process with the QBR, then the primary job, and so on. Remember, people are not their titles. People are their traits. For example, you're not seeking a receptionist, you're seeking the great communicator. So identify who that person is and match them with the tasks and jobs that need a great communicator. Then move people to the most critical tasks, starting with the most important one first, QBR. Match the person with their strength to the job that needs that trait. Move and observe. As you do this, we're going to remove the traditional pyramid structure over an organization, which focuses on seniority and power and position. A scaled company is not about the old pyramid structure. Instead, it uses a web of connections, matching strengths where strength is needed, resulting in a network structured like a brain. When we love doing something, we'll invest a lot of time and energy into it. It gives us energy instead of drawing energy away from us. Now imagine you have an entire team of employees who get energy from working at your shop. Instead of finishing the workday drained and dragging, they feel empowered. Wouldn't that be magical? Don't you want your team members to be excited to come to work because they get to do what they love to do? And you can have this. If you align their job to their joy, you can have it. Match the task to the people with the talents. Match their work to their wants as best as you can. This is a company people will love to work for and help grow. For a business to stay afloat and grow, it must be actively doing things that its customers value. Designing work is about creating the best way to do things your customers value and have the company do those automatically. As we've discussed before, the company should strive for 80% of their combined time in doing, 2% in deciding, 8% in delegating, and 10% in designing the work. This means one person team, just the owner, is the entire company and should target this breakdown. A 10-person team combined should target this breakdown as well, meaning some individuals may spend 99% of their time doing and only 1% deciding, while others spend 50% of their time doing, 2% deciding, 12% delegating, and 36% of the time designing. So use the time analysis you did for yourself and your team to figure out the current ratio for your company. Weigh that amount of time they work for the company in relation to the total company time. For example, if you work 80 hours a week and another employee only works 8 hours a week, your work is weighted 10 times more than that employee's. And a template's linked in the description below for you as well. Now look at what your people are doing as compared to what they want to do. Play with the model where you move people around to leverage their strengths while keeping the company in that 82-8-10 zone. We want to make sure we're maintaining that 80% doing. When you are ready to try out your new model, have trial runs and tests. Let people sample the new work to make sure it suits them, is good for them. Shift deliberately but slowly and communicate throughout. Tell your team how you're trying to rebalance the work they do so they have a happier work environment and have higher and better efficiencies. Prepare them for bumps and bruises in the transition and ask them for their active feedback on making the new balance even better. When people master something, they get bored doing it over time. That's why Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid took up the art of bonsai. He needed something other than karate to do. By rebalancing your team, you keep challenges in front of your team that still leverage their skills and wants. Whitney Johnson, in her book, Build an A Team, Play to Their Strengths and Lead Them Up the Learning Curve, reveals that the ideal mix for a balanced team is to have the majority of their employees and team members learning, a few of them starting and a few that have mastered everything. The majority who are learning are your producers. The masters can help the learners along the way, and the newbies are the ones who can challenge the status quo, the entrenched ideas, and ask, why do we do it this way? Balancing your team is a living process. Look at it every quarter. The goal is to get more and more of what your team members love to do on your team members' plates. It may not always be possible, but over time, the goal is to create a dream job for every member of your team. As this process evolves, your team will grow and change. In your quarterly review, make sure to consider how many of your team members are in the learning mode and how many are in the mastery mode. Finally, change is hard. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that, but I'm bringing it up because after implementing the steps we talked about, you will surely be feeling it. Even when the business is booming, or even when you have more time to focus on designing your store. Change can be stressful, especially when you're changing the balance of your team. Your team will also feel that change, and they may feel insecure about their new positions or worry that they may be eliminated entirely. Remember, a balanced team isn't just a retention tool for your existing talent. It helps you recruit talent as well. Your company's commitment to helping your team love their work is hugely attractive to prospective employees. For those who will remain part of your company and part of your team, give them reassurance, listen to their concerns, affirm their places on your team. Remember to take the time to breathe during this process. Yes, change is hard, but it's also going to get you what you want, a business that runs itself. Balancing your team will allow you to scale your business, avoid employee turnover, and have a rockstar team. What strengths or gaps do you have in your business today? What changes do you think are going to be made right off the bat? Tell me in the comments below or email me at jacob@curtiscalingsolutions.com. And remember to follow me at Curtis Scaling Solutions on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. Thanks for watching and talk to you soon.